Welcome in. It's Backstretch Banter, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90. It is our final week of the regular season. The playoffs begin next race. One more to go in Darlington. We got one driver on the RFK side that is in, and we got one that is really hoping that this weekend goes well because he has the final spot right now in the playoffs. So lots going on. It's Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing. I'm Chris Childers, and we got a great guest with us today, TJ Majors, our first guest out of the gates, and then Nate McGuire going to be with us a little bit later. But TJ is the spotter for the number 6 car for Brad Keselowski. It is a massive, massive weekend coming up in the world. Certainly Darlington, we're hoping for great things. Daytona was a lot of fun. TJ, hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm not going to be, I'm not as nervous this week as a lot of people. So it feels good to be locked into the playoffs on the 6 and, going back to a track we won at, and also, a track that Chris ran good at as well. So looking for a really good weekend for the RFK cars.
I'm curious. Do you feel that inside the building when you guys are in and the 17 is just kind of, hanging on to that spot and hoping for dear life? And, we'll all feel a lot better when the race is over and they're in the playoff. But do you feel that from the other team as they're walking around, that angst as they're trying to get that final playoff spot?
Yeah, I don't think it's just on them. I think it's on us too. I think we want them in as well, as good as teammates as we are with each other. Brad and Chris I don't think I've worked with two guys that have been better teammates than them. I know we all want Chris in, and so I kind of feel it on our side too. Like, what can we do to help? But those guys know what they're doing, and I feel like they're going to go to Darlington and be really strong. I think Chris qualified maybe 4th or 5th there, maybe 5th last year or earlier this year. I'm sorry, and I know Chris might have qualified 3rd. I think he qualified 3rd. But I feel like Chris is going to have a strong weekend.
Let's hope so. I would love to see him in victory lane, and we're just riding the momentum in, and both teams got a nice little checkered flag on their car going to the next race would be a great thing. I think we all feel it. I mean, whether you're hosting the radio show, whether you're in the garage, whether you're doing whatever, I think everybody's just really anxious because not only do you want to see the car from a business perspective but it's just easy to root for Chris. I mean, he's one of the great human beings in the world of racing, and you want to see him do well. At least from my perspective, he is. I mean, you guys might have a different story to tell in the garage, but I love the guy. Would love to see him have success. And after getting in victory lane 3 times last year, it would be nice to see RFK get a couple more checkered flags, especially when it matters here in the playoffs. Daytona last weekend, the car ran really well. Brad was rocking throughout the race. From your perspective up there, how'd you feel about Daytona?
I felt really good about it. Going in, I felt really prepared with our teammate, and we put a lot of work in during the week, talking to each other, meeting with each other, going over scenarios, and, what can we do to be above, be a step ahead of everybody else. So I felt really good going into the race, and I felt really good during the race too, and really felt like we were going to be a huge factor in the race as it was coming down to it. I felt like, we were executing everything we needed to execute, and we're racing, for the lead there until a late restart. So, and then still ended up having an outside shot at the end, depending on what happens. But, to rebound and come all the way back to a single-digit finish, I think is pretty good.
What'd you think of the restart penalty? I mean, we still had a decent chance there, but it was something. We'll say that, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I've seen restarts look very similar to that, and there wasn't a huge glaring advantage. It's not like, a mile and a half where your guy jumps the restart and gets clean air and then just blocks and takes the guy's line away or something like that. I didn't see it. There's a lot of factors in it too. I feel like the 2 car got a push from the 5, and I feel like he spun his tires a little bit, which prohibited him from going, which made it look even worse. Well, that's not our fault. that happened. The two actually, I believe, got clear of us on the outside lane. So where was the advantage, and you don't really, you're kind of at the mercy of the car behind you as well. So if we get a really good restart and we're getting pushed from the car behind us, and does she get a penalty too? You know what I'm saying? So you should just maybe I guess if you're restarting third, just start pushing the guy on the inside and get him a penalty. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't feel like it was bad enough to warrant a penalty. I've seen worse restarts than that, but it is what it is, and you just gotta compose yourself as quick as you can during the race and kind of get over it and worry about it later, because you're not going to change it in the moment. So the only thing you can really do is look at it after the race and try to understand why it happened and maybe prevent it from happening to you again the best you can. But you just got to compose yourself again and move on and try to manage the race the best you can from that. I guess to me, in our football terms here, it'd be like the quarterback throwing an interception at the wrong time. You know what I mean? You can't change it. So
no,
the best you can do, the best thing you do is have the defense come out there, get a stop, and go back to work. So I feel like the caution coming out a few laps later with the big wreck, maybe that was a blessing that we weren't in that wreck. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe we make it through the wreck and we're leading the race. But, we were able to get through that wreck and another one and get her some track position back and have an outside shot at the end. So, I felt like we did everything we could do at that point.
I'm curious, TJ, does it ever get chippy up there when you guys are spotting and, Daytona just gets insane? We know it does. When guys are going for the race at the end, we see it every time, whether it's the 500, whether it's this race, second one of the year at night. We can predict it, right? You can just kind of see it, and you guys have a unique view of that. You're obviously trying to give your guys, the best information that you can from a spotting perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Does it ever get pissy up there when a guy's like, "What are you doing? Why are you telling your driver that? What's going on?" Do they ever blame you for what happens in that moment?
Yeah, it gets chippy at times. There's certain scenarios that come up. Sometimes you feel like if you don't think the guy gave the driver good enough info to make a better decision, and then the driver doesn't know something and he makes a bad decision and it costs you get mad at that stuff, And there's times when things happen and, I got yelled at from another guy earlier this year for a penalty they got on pit road, was told it was our fault, and then come to find out it was their driver had hit their own tire and knocked it into our.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but until you see the replay and go back and look and things, but yeah, it definitely gets chippy. Even between some of the drivers and the spotters themselves, they've had we've heard some of that this year, and the driver not liking something the spotter said, the spotters trying to coach the drivers up, and sometimes they're just not having it at times. And
yeah,
I'll be honest, Brad's really good about keeping his cool. There's probably only 2 or 3 times, and from working with Brad, even when I spotted for him back at the Junior Motorsports days, there's probably he's always been a real level-headed driver. But he's had a couple moments where I've had to hey, stop. We're here to finish this race. We're not going to be able to finish good if we're pulling a fender out or changing a tire or something here. It's really going to hurt our chances. So, but you do realize, you do have, there is moments where, the driver and spotter, when I spotted for Dale Jr. for many years, I've called him every name in the book. I just didn't push the button in, so he didn't hear it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And I'm sure you have to. Because it gets tight. These guys are in the car. They're certainly going through it. It's hot. They're exhausted. They're pissy. You're up there trying to do your best. And you have an intense-ass job. You constantly have to be locked in during the entire race and paying attention. And it's high stakes. Everything that's going on is high stakes out there, especially when you're going that damn fast. So I love it. I love the job. I love what you guys do. I love listening to you. I listen to what you guys do all the time. I love being in the pit box too, and just getting able to hear everything, because it's like you're a coach. It really is. It's like an offensive coordinator telling a guy what to do. The athlete's got to go make it happen, but you're up there
Yeah.
You and the crew chief are, certainly doing some important damn things on that radio, and that goes a long way in what happens in the race. It really does. Um, you mentioned your relationship with Brad.
Hmm.
How different do you approach, or do you approach the job different depending on the driver?
Um,
Is there a
yeah.
different cadence, different method? Do you talk more to certain guys?
No, I mean, I don't really change a whole lot. My style is my style, and I think drivers learn that over the years,
Okay.
and a lot of drivers they go after it. I mean, that's a trait that they look for, whenever they're looking for a new spotter. So working with Brad, like me and Brad have just known each other so well for so long, and when he first came into the Xfinity series, I spotted for him, and we understood each other right from the get-go. And it's always worked well. There's other drivers that I work with in the Xfinity series and truck series that are younger, so you're feeding them a lot of info as well. But Brad, I mean, he likes as much info as you can give him, and he can tune out what he doesn't want and what he does want, and it's not a problem. So it works. It's pretty seamless, and it's I think under knowing each other well, definitely is something that not a lot of drivers and spotters probably have that connection. Me and Brad, we hang out during the week. The families know each other well. There's just that I don't know, that comfort level, I guess, you get just knowing each other. Like, I know what he's thinking before he knows what he's thinking. You know what I mean? Like, and vice versa. He knows how I'm going to react to things, and I know how he's going to react to things. So you can play them. I know what to motivate him. I know how, and he knows how to keep me on my toes with certain things. And it's a good mix. And I don't feel like, I don't think there's a lot of other driver spotter combos. There's probably just a few of them where, they do have that close connection.
It's really cool, I think, and it makes your job a lot more fun. Might make it a little more personal, but it's got to make it certainly that much more rewarding when things go well. Let's take a break. We got more. TJ Majors with us, the spotter for the number 6 car, which looked damn good. I mean, you were spotting a nice looking pretzel roll last week.
Yeah.
Those pretzel bites looked very tasty running around that track. I bet they were. They looked fantastic. But we'll talk about King's Hawaiian, by the way, was the sponsor, which they make an incredible product as it is with their buns. But let's take a break. We'll come back. We got more with TJ next on Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing. We're back here. It is Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. I'm Chris Childers. TJ Majors still hanging out as we go to Darlington this week. He's the spotter for the number 6 Ford Mustang, driven by Mr. Brad Keselowski, which this week has the Solomon Plumbing wrap on it, and Brad's Checkered Flag Foundation will promote its tribute to veterans program this weekend, as the number 6 will have a very, very special look. Hero names will be displayed on the car. It's going to be very, very powerful and awesome. So looking forward to that on the Solomon Plumbing number 6 Ford Mustang. Also, you talk about another cool thing, buildsubmarines.com. Going to be on the 17 this week, and go to that website. If you need a career, if you're an engineer, or you good with your hands and you want to help our country, how much cooler of a job can you get than going to build a submarine? So go check it out, buildsubmarines.com. TJ, Darlington this weekend, we're fired up for it. We really are. You mentioned how you hang out with Brad during the week. What's the guy like? I mean, he is, I think, a very different professional athlete than what we're used to. Maybe a different attitude than some of the guys we think of as elite drivers. What is Brad like? What does he like to do? What do you guys do when you hang out?
I mean, I don't, Brad's just normal. I mean, he's,
he seems like a normal guy that's really good at racing cars.
Yeah. And honestly, that's about, he's really, really good at driving race cars. Street cars he's had some issues with. But that's a story for later. But
I need that. Yeah. You can't just gloss over that. What has he done to his street car?
Well, he might have hydroplaned at 40 miles an hour.
You're kidding.
Yeah, that's so he says. I'm not buying it. But no, Brad's just a normal guy. He goes likes sports, likes football, but he's also very knowledgeable with things. He's very up on, current events, just, what the market's doing. He's also knows more about history than you probably think as well. He can tell you why certain governments were successful or weren't successful, the market strategies they used at the time. He's almost too smart for his own good at times.
Yeah.
Because he's got some great ideas with things, but then there's always that, where he has this great idea and you'll be like, Brad, that sounds good, but that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. But then he's like, why that? Why? Well, because of this. Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Just the most. I'm like street smart, and he's book smart, so it's kind of a good mix. Any straight facts, I just have to go to him on with things. But
does he ever talk about the cars with you, and you're just like, what are you talking about? Because he gets real sciencey with stuff.
Yeah, we talk about the cars, but I understand a lot about the car stuff. And,
okay, so
and
that part of it, you're good. But
yeah, I know I'm pretty good about the car stuff, and he's but he is probably, I would say, maybe the most knowledgeable driver in the field about the cars. He is very in depth on these race cars, and I mean it's impressive what all he knows, and he just like. He has another business too, where he goes and has this 3D printing company, and we've walked through there before, and he's got all these massive machines in here. And we walked by all these machines, and he's like, yeah, this one's printing this, this piece, this is what it's gonna do. This one's printing this. This is how much it costs to make. This is how many I got to make. This is what I'm making off of it. And there's like 30.
Really?
There's like 30 pieces in these things, and he knows every detail about all of them. So I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he has enough hours in a day to do what he does, but he does a good job at it. And there's one thing that I've learned about Brad is he does not quit. And when he has when he has goals in mind, he's relentless.
He really, you could tell. It's not one of those things that you have to know him to know that. Like, it's one of those things that if you pay attention at all, you can tell that Brad Keselowski is that kind of guy, and it shines through. And what a career that he's had because of those traits. You and I were talking some ball off the air, some football. It's that time of the year. How big of a deal is football in the NASCAR world? Do you guys ever watch together, fellow drivers, spotters, teammates?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of connection with it. Everybody, there's a lot of football fans and stuff, and a lot of college and a lot of NFL. Last year we went to Kansas a day early to go to the first game of the season, which was Lions. Oh, nice. It was Lions at Kansas City, and the Lions ended up beating them. And we stayed until the last player walked off the field after the game too. So that was cool, man. And there's some competitiveness, when it gets down to it. One of our other, we've got some other friends that work with Brad, and one of them's a Dolphins fan, and I'm a Bills fan, so I do not like Miami. It's really nice of most of the Dolphins fans. They all send Josh Allen Father's Day cards, so that's really cool. But no, it's pretty competitive, man. And Brad's a big Michigan guy as well, and them. We were able to go to the national championship game this last year. That was my first college game that I ever been to. So it was really cool to go and see them win that game and the whole atmosphere of that. But yeah, no, I'm a big NFL fan. So, and I've been a Bills fan through the good years and a lot of bad years, and it's fun that they're competitive again. I really not sure. It would be awesome if they could bring a Super Bowl to Buffalo. I'm not sure that town would know what to do if they won that.
No,
but there would be a lot of broken tables.
Yes, there would be.
But it
Bills
would be.
Mafia.
Can you imagine all the media clips coming out of Buffalo if they won a Super Bowl?
It would be the most viral Super Bowl ever. From what would happen. From a celebration standpoint, I don't think there's any doubt.
I hope so.
It was good to catch up, man. Thanks a lot for hanging out. Good luck this weekend. The number 6 car is going to look absolutely incredible in the Solomon Plumbing and the veteran tribute this weekend. and we appreciate you coming on. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That is TJ Major, spotter for the number 6. We got a lot more coming up. Stick around. It is Chris Childers on Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing. We're back here, Backstretch Banter on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. I'm Chris Childers, who is awesome to visit with TJ Majors from the number 16 Keselowski in the playoffs, feeling good. They love, though, as TJ said, they want to have 2 teams from this team in the playoffs. The 17, as of today, on the good side. So if the playoffs were tomorrow, the 17, Chris Buescher, would be in, but they're not tomorrow. There's one more race in between the playoffs. Let's talk about it. Darlington is coming up. Nate McGuire is with us from the number 17 car, the Ford Mustang, the BuildSubmarines.com number 17 this weekend. Nate is a tire specialist for the 17. Nate, it's good to talk to you. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Good talking to you.
So how are we feeling about the playoff? How are we approaching things right now? I got to believe that there's some excitement going into this week. There's 1 week left to go to prove this team deserves to be in the championship mix. Give me an idea of the build-up to the race so far in Darlington.
I mean, we kind of try to stick to everything the way we've been doing everything. It's worked so far. Obviously, we are, 21 points to the good. Obviously, we need a win that we deserved, or we felt like we deserved already, but we're not there. So we just got to keep racing and just do what we've been doing all season long and get some stage points and hopefully win the race.
How would you describe the season up until this point? There has been some emotional up and downs. A year ago, there were, 3 checkered flags at this point, and all was well in the world, and the team was, hotter than Texas chili for a little bit. This has been a little bit different. There's been some bad luck involved along the way, quite a bit of it at times. I mean, everybody remembers the finish with Kyle Larson. From your perspective, how would you describe the year so far?
It's been a good year. Like I said, our results don't always show it. I've said several times to Scott Graves and a bunch of the team guys that we always kind of seem to do our best when our back is against the wall. So we just got to go into the race. Our backs are kind of against the wall right now and just kind of push forward and try to get the win.
How much does the team pay attention to the reality of the standings, the reality of the points, what's going on? And how much of it is just, like you said, we got to approach the race like every other one. We can't worry about that. If we do that, we'll get in trouble. But is there an overarching awareness? Let's say we get into stage 2 and there's some points that are accumulated. As long as somebody else doesn't win, and we'd love to see the 17 in, you guys will be fine. But is there any thought as to what needs to happen, how we approach the stages, or is this just race as usual? Let's try to get up on top.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always kind of a little bit in the back of your mind, kind of like, Chris has said in the past. But it's so, I mean, you can finish 11th in the first stage and 11th in the second stage and win the race. So that'd be 0 points, but a win. So you just got to race your hardest. And, points are obviously a little bit on our mind. There's a lot going forward for the next 10 races after this race where, it's being in the playoffs is a big deal for us to go for the championship and for the sponsors and for the team and just the morale. Having one car locked in is good, but we definitely want to have both locked into the playoffs for sure.
100%. And everybody's got their fingers crossed. We're knocking on wood. All's going to go well this weekend, and we have things official and settled by the end of the Darlington, and both the 17 and the 6 are locked in and have momentum going into the race. That would be fantastic. How's Chris Buescher right now? The body language going into this race. Certainly, he's had a heck of a year. He's been in the mix, pretty much every single week. There's been some bad luck at times, but the team's been very competitive. I know I talked to him after the situation with Larson, and you could just tell how frustrated he was, how desperately he wanted to have that locked in. How is he? Is he same old Chris, or is he a little, on edge and a little extra right now?
I don't see the extra myself.
So Chris is Chris.
Chris is Chris. I mean, he's pretty cool, calm, and collected. It takes a lot for him to get riled up, and it's happened this year. But hopefully that side of him doesn't come out again. Hopefully we just do well enough we don't have to worry about everybody else.
All right, I gotta ask you as a teammate: is riled up Buescher scary because he doesn't usually do it, or is it like, come on, you're not one of those? Like, do you take it seriously when he gets all fired up? Because he's such a nice, like, kind guy that you would never think screams and yells.
I would be scared. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be on the bad side of Chris Buescher.
When he turns that on, you know something is serious, and we did see that earlier this year. But I'll tell you what, one of the good guys in racing. He's so easy to root for. What's it like to be a part of a team with a guy that is so genuine, that cares so much about his family? We all remember Daytona, how he was running back and forth, and David Reagan had to do testing. It was pretty awesome, right? He was in practice, and Chris was, I'm here. I got to go back. And certainly it was cool to see that, and his wife having their second child. But when you get to work with a guy like that, how does it impact your job?
It just kind of feels like family. I mean, you just, we knew what he needed to do and get back home, like you said, in Daytona, and to go hopefully witness the birth of his son. And he missed it by just a little bit, as you well know.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were happy that David, came in the car, and none of us were upset. None of us, we all knew that family does a lot of time come first. So he's just a family guy, good guy.
Yeah, really good guy, and a fun guy to work with, I'm sure. And he's always a pleasure whenever we have him on the show. We're talking with Nate McGuire, tire specialist for the 17. Tell us what a tire specialist is. We see every week, how the tires factor into the races. We certainly know Darlington's going to eat a lot of them this week. So, every racetrack's a little bit different. But your job in general consists of what as a tire specialist for this team?
So basically, I manage the tires, right? So tires and wheels. I also manage the wheel nuts for the car. So it's basically getting them in sets, making sure the air pressure is the way they want them, and making sure that they get put on the car the correct way at the correct time. So basically anything to do with the tire is my realm. We get our information from Goodyear normally about the week before the race. We'll dissect as much as we can and try to make our best sets for the race, and then get to the racetrack. We'll measure them, do tread depths for the new side for being able to wear during the race and practice. Get all that information together, present it to Scott and the engineers, and just kind of say, this is what we got, this is what we think. Scott's pretty lenient to kind of let me do my own thing, but we always talk back and forth and make sure our minds are on the same wavelength.
The Goodyear information that you get, and everybody, I would assume, gets the same information across the board. What does it consist of? How detailed is it? How much decision making goes into that? Give me an idea of what you're actually basing decisions off of.
So there is a sequence number. The tire is mounted on one of our wheels from Champion, so it'll have the wheel number. It'll also have the spring rate of the tire, the shift code, the manufacturing date, and all those correlate into each other. And you basically just try to get the stiffest, softest spring rates together. The sequence, 2 or 3 different machines made them, try to keep them close together. And then when we have option tires or rain tires, just keeping everything all collected together to try to get the best sets for the race.
Did an interesting job, and I'm sure there's so much detail involved, and it's really, I'm sure, one of those things that's painstaking. I mean, there's so much that goes into the details of the race, and the tires are certainly such an important part. We see it every week, how tires factor into who wins, who loses. Certainly strategy goes a lot into that. Do you have any play at all into the strategy perspective, or do you just make sure the tires are good?
Scott and Aaron Kramer do most of the strategy stuff. I will, maybe put in a little opinion here or there. But mostly I just kind of just let them make the decisions, and they trust me to make sure that I get that done, whether it be air pressure or, swapping right side tires or.
So they don't have to like consult you during a weather thing and be like, what do you think about this? It's
no,
they know.
Yeah,
they know.
they're pretty good at their job, I think.
Yeah, yeah, they know.
So, but we talk like when there's like for instance when we run the rain tires, do you want to add more air, take a little air out, stuff like that. We'll discuss, but mainly it's, hey, can you take a pound out here, half pound out here.
So where are you? And again, we're talking to Nate McGuire here, which is fascinating to find out what goes on behind the scenes with a tire specialist. And there's so much that goes in to the nuance of these tires that are getting raced every single weekend. I mean, it really is. And even if you ever have a chance to observe pit road and you just see what goes into it and the measurements and, the investigations you see the Goodyear people around, and there's a lot. I mean, the tires really are. There's an intricate amount of work that goes in on race day. Where are you during the race? What is your job when you have two teams? Are you hovering around? Are you in a box somewhere? Where are you?
So each team has a tire specialist.
Okay,
and
that's
then,
right. You're with the 17.
With the 17. So
my apologies.
No, you're good. Will's on the 6, and we will communicate throughout the race if we need to.
Okay.
But basically, I'm in our pit stall, and just the same thing, just making sure that the air pressures are correct, any changes made. If there's a stagger change or something that we want to do and want to swap lefts or swap rights, I can do that. It's basically managing the tires and making sure that the pit crew guys put the lefts on the lefts and the rights on the right. So making sure, my lettering markings are visible and just kind of help with them, making sure that they understand where the tires are at all times. If sometimes, like, when there's option tires, it's like, all right, well, we're going to put set 9 on the ball, which is basically the next set on the car. And whether it be, the primaries or the options, or even rain tires. So we just kind of just making sure that everything is in its right place. A lot of the measurements and all that stuff is either on tech day or before practice qualifying. So by race time, we pretty much gotten everything, pretty much know where we want to be. Obviously, as the race progresses, we'll adjust air pressure based on how the car's doing, long run, short run. But basically, I'm just in the pit box managing the tires. I also do the signboard and roll the left front tire to the front carrier. So a little busy, but
yeah. I would say that's quite an important job on race day. There's a lot going on right there, which is, it's always amazing to watch it in person. Just it's such a beautiful choreography of speed and athleticism. Those guys around you, what they're doing, your tire changer is unbelievable. How close do you have to be with the tire changer, or does that matter? Do you have to have a good relationship as the tire specialist?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a very well-rounded position where you got to be able to trust that that they're going to grab the right tire. I mean, they practice and do their job excellently, but every once in a while, like in a crash repair situation, the next set of tires might not be right against the wall. So we'll behind the wall support will help them get the tires up to the wall, make sure, if for some reason we didn't get some of the tire clearance all the way, or we'll make sure to get the next set on the wall and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's a very important to just kind of let everybody, like, we can all lean on each other.
Nate McGuire, tire specialist for the number 17 car. How'd you get into it? How did you get into the world of NASCAR? Was it something that you loved as a kid? Did you find your way in a roundabout way? I mean, everybody seems to have a unique NASCAR story. What's yours?
So I'm from Palmyra, New York, originally. Moved down here in 2005. Started volunteering at a team in August of 2005. And just
why did you move?
To get in racing. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. So racing was a love of yours.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And I just knew that I wanted to try to get into it any way possible. And so, yeah, I started volunteering in August of 2005. My first full season was in 2008 on the Xfinity program. And then from there, moved up to Cup full-time in 2013. So I think this is like my 11th season in Cup. I think.
Were you always a tire guy?
I've always been a tire guy. Yeah.
Okay.
I've done other things. I'm not just a tire guy. I can do other things, but
yeah.
I like doing tires. It's fun.
So how'd you find your way into the tire world?
The team that I was working for at the time, we had one or two people, and I just picked up the air gauge one day.
Gotcha.
Like, I'm that guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So it just kind of went from there, and then I'm not exactly sure, to be honest, but it just kind of happened.
It's kind of a natural thing that you decided you liked and
yep.
put some time in, got good at it, and here you are. I mean, all these years later, working with one of the great teams in NASCAR, one of the great storied teams in NASCAR, and Roush Fenway Keselowski, which is pretty darn neat. A lot of fun here talking to Nate McGuire, who is the tire specialist for the number 17 Build Submarines Ford Mustang, which is going to look so sweet on the racetrack this week. I love the Build Submarines relationship. You've seen them all over the place with the Fenway group. They've been on the field at Fenway Park for the Red Sox games. You've seen some incredible stuff like the Build Submarines Fenway car, the Red Sox car, which was in New Hampshire, which was really cool. Just a lot of cool stuff. And if you don't know what it is, it's literally what it says it is. You can build submarines. You can be a part of America and helping protect America and doing really cool things with your skills, which is come on, how cool is it to build a submarine? It's pretty awesome. So great partnership, awesome car this weekend with the buildsubmarines.com. How much do you guys, I've always wondered, I don't think I've asked a team member this, but how much do you guys enjoy the sponsors? You know, I see you drinking a hoist right there. I don't know if you got to get in on the pretzel bites last week with King's Hawaiian and the number 6, but I mean, you've got some cool sponsors. How much do you guys like to take advantage of some of the great stuff going on?
Yeah, it's hoist is a great product, and
it is. I love it. I drink it every day.
Me too. The pretzel bites. Buescher was saying he was going to go get some next door last week, and I was like, just grab a whole jug, like just bring them over. We need some over here too. The sponsor relations is great. I mean, I think our departments do a really good job with letting us kind of be ourselves when they're here, and we'll try to help out and give hauler tours, and if we can give a free hat away, and just try to, I think the relationships obviously are very important. Yeah. So
how does Fastenal help you in your job? Do they have any sort of contribution to what you do as a tire specialist? Because they're obviously a very useful partner.
Yeah, I mean, I just for just some of the different equipment, because I also take care of most of our pit boxes and generators, stuff like that. So yeah, we're constantly using nuts, bolts, washers. So we're definitely, they're a big asset to us.
You put the pit box out?
Not the pit box, the toolbox.
Okay,
the picker guys handle the pit box.
Okay, gotcha. Because that to me, I'm always amazed how many people can sit in there and they just kind of like slap them together really quick. And I've always wondered, are they truly safe? Are they truly? Yeah.
I stand underneath it most of all races, so I feel like
you are banking on it.
Yeah, they're definitely banking.
You are,
on it.
Yes, absolutely. Great conversation going on, Nate McGuire. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll finish up the show. We got more with Nate as we're getting ready for Darlington. We'll talk about Darlington and how many tires need to be used, how it eats them up, the strategies, what needs to be prepared. We'll specifically dial into the tire side of this racetrack, which is a unique one. We'll do that next right here with Nate on Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing. We're back here on Backstretch Banter, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90, Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing as Roush Fenway Keselowski heads into Darlington this week. They've got one car locked into the playoffs, the number 6. They got another car that right now, if it ended today, the season would be in, but it doesn't. There's one more left to go, and the pressure is on. Nate McGuire has been hanging out with us. He's the tire specialist for the number 17 BuildSubmarines.com Ford Mustang this weekend. Nate, we talked about how you guys just look at it as another race, but certainly this race is different. This racetrack loves to eat up tires. what's different from your perspective doing this job as a tire specialist as you head into Darlington? What is different about this track?
So, I mean, yeah, like you said, like this track is very tire sensitive. I mean, if you put 8 green flag laps on your tires and the caution comes out, you're probably going to stop for another set of tires, sticker tires. So, we have 14 sets for this weekend. 1 practice, 1 qualifying, 12 for the race.
What's typical? What's your typical average?
9 to 10 sets.
Okay.
Average.
So
It's a little bit more than normal. But this is the Southern 500, right? So 14 sets. We'll probably possibly use all 12 race sets. It's happened in the past, so
yeah,
it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding. So and it's yeah, I don't know.
Well, what does the more work look like? What does that look like from your perspective? Because I know it's more sets, but what does that mean for you, your team? How much more hours? What does that mean?
So we'll go in on Saturday morning, and I will prep all 14 sets, and then we will practice and qualify. So it's a busy day, but once those guys get through tech, they'll come and help me and make sure everything's aired up and the proper set's on the set for proper set is on the car for practice, and then we'll bring a set to the pits for qualifying as well. So it's not much different than a normal race weekend. It's a few more sets than normal.
What is the relationship like for a tire specialist with Goodyear? Is there a lot of communication? Is it just weekly where they send you the specs? Is there a relationship with the people in the company where you know who to call when you need something, or like what does that look like for the teams and Goodyear, who's the manufacturer of the tires?
There's a very close relationship. I mean, obviously their upper management talks to all of our upper management, down to the engineers, the track engineers. I've got most of their numbers in my phone. If anytime I have a question, they're always there to pick up and ask. During the race, during practice, they're real close by, help with tire temps. If we got any questions after practice, we can look at our practice set. They can cut it and tell us, too low air, not enough air, too much camber. So they're it's a real good working relationship with those guys and girls.
Yeah, it's I always wondered about that. How much conversation goes back and forth? Do they take a lot of input from you and the teams and tire specialists, crew chiefs, etc.? How much goes into the product for the next year, the next season?
Yeah,
feedback wise,
especially during like tire tests, they know pretty much where we're at pressure wise, and camber and stuff like that. So they can do when they do their testing, their labs and stuff. They can basically mimic what we're doing for durability, and even if, like, for instance, we're having issues with our tires at the current race, they're there to help us out and figure out if it's something on their end or something on our end. They're pretty quick to help, for sure.
You might know, as a tire guy who's been in the business for a while and is specialized in it, but do you have any idea, like, what's in it for Goodyear from a marketing perspective, from a, making the product seem, more legitimate? And I mean, I know for me, I care about the tires. I care about the Goodyears and the NASCAR and the Firestones and IndyCar and the Pirellis and, Formula One. And it matters to me when I'm making a decision which one they're in, which one they're associated with. Have they talked about that? Has there been any, like, seminars in tire world during conferences about what affiliation with a race organization means for these companies?
I mean, not to me directly, but I do know that I have Goodyears on my street car.
Yeah, so you trust them.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a great brand. I mean, if I trust it with my own life, I'm going to obviously trust it on a race car for sure, too. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, they're obviously a huge part of our sport.
Massive part of the sport, and they have been for a long, long time, and do a great job. They really do. It's kind of cool to see somebody that's been a part of something for so long. They're synonymous. I mean, they are with the brand, and it's kind of neat. Did the next gen car affect your job at all when we introduced it a couple years ago? Did it, impact the tire specialist?
No, I mean, no, not really.
No.
There's a little bit of a learning curve. Obviously, they're different. It's kind of just, it's funny. It's the simple things like just how you pick up the tire. It was just a little bit different.
Yeah.
They're lighter. That the wheel and tire combo is lighter than the 5-lug stuff. So my back appreciates it for sure.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure it's a whole another world when it comes to the physicality, especially for everybody with the 1 as opposed to the 5. I'm sure there's a lot of backs and joints that have been saved because of the increase in technology. Has tire technology changed a lot? Has there been advancements in what the manufacturer can do or not do?
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely, I think they can, with the upcoming Watkins Glen tire, they've kind of built in some fall off into it. So I think hopefully that should help the racing there. There's, I mean, every week or 2 or month, they're trying to do better. And that's why we have so many different D codes, which is a code specific for the right side or left side at each racetrack. Goes into just trying to make the racing better, making sure the construction is strong enough. And Michigan, we had a different right side that was introduced. We'd never raced it before, and it did well. I mean, they don't want their product to fail. We just test it.
Yeah, exactly. Nate McGuire, our guest, tire specialist for RFK Racing for the number 17 Build Submarines Ford Mustang this weekend. Leave us with this thought, and I should thank everybody for helping us out with the show, from Thomas Burfield to Alec Walt, our producer in DC, Kevin Woods and Brandon, and just a bunch of great people. So we appreciate them, Elijah, etc. How much coordination goes on weekly and on race day between you and the crew chief and the engineers? How much conversation is happening? Is it a frequent line of communication?
Yes. We actually have a direct channel where I can talk to just Graves, or Aaron during the race, just for quick conversation. We have a private channel that we can talk to that more of the team can hear. But we have a channel that him and I can talk to directly. That's just a little bit more clear. So in case we want to add a pound or change it up a set, or put on the option tires or the rain tires. So yeah, we're very, very close during the race for communication.
It takes a village to make those things go on Saturdays and Sundays. It really does, man. It takes an entire village, and I don't know how many people realize just how many details go in. We always focus on the name that's on the car, and for good reason. I mean, they're the ones that are driving the things, but there's a lot. It's like a football team. I mean, you got to have, a lot of different things working in the same way. It's the ultimate team sport. Even though there's an individual driving the car, it is the ultimate team sport. Pleasure to have you, man. Good luck this week. Let's get in the playoffs and get it done. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely a pleasure. That is Nate McGuire, who's the tire specialist for the Build Submarines Ford Mustang, the number 17 this weekend. We are done. Everybody enjoy Darlington. We'll be talking next week about the playoffs moving forward. Thanks for listening. I'm Chris Childers. It's Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing on Sirius XM, NASCAR Radio, Channel 90.